Once you learn the major scale, you'll understand how everything on guitar actually works. Now, once we start learning guitar, we have to learn the major scale, some open chords, some songs, and then that's the last time you actually look at the major scale properly. After that, you're endlessly scrolling on YouTube, coming across different lessons, studying the cage system, the 3-2 system, that system, this hack. You buy some lick libraries, chord libraries, you're learning the pentatonic boxes, the modes, some jazz scales, and all these things, right? But you don't know how to put it all together to actually make some music. And that's the problem a lot of us face. We get stuck there for years, including myself. And it's like, how do you actually get out of it? So after being there myself, I've come to the conclusion that the only thing a person needs to know, and I mean know inside out, is the major scale. Because everything you learn will come from the major scale, bruv. So, you know, if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, subscribe. Because when was the last time you saw a black guy in a kimono? You know what I'm saying? Looks nice, man. So yeah, I'm going to show you how the major scale makes the cage system, mode, the pentatonic boxes, 3 notes per string shapes, and how you can use it to build chords as well. I'll keep this video as short and sweet as possible. So let's get straight into it. What is the major scale? I'm not going to waste time explaining what a major scale is. If you don't know, then watch this video here. This explains everything. But for now, I just want to focus on how you can visualize the major scale on the fretboard. So to do that, let's look at it from a different perspective. I've got my good friend who's like a Mozart on piano to play a major scale for me. And this is what it looks like. It's pretty simple, and I promise you this is how simple guitar is once you understand it. So he's only played 7 different notes. He played C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then I want you to see this. Notice how on the piano the notes just repeat themselves. It does the same thing again. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And again, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. It just repeats itself, and you don't have to learn what the whole alphabet for the major scale. It's just 7 different notes. So how do we apply this to guitar? If we do it in the key of A major, I need to get my guitar for this, 1 second. So if we had to put this on guitar in the key of A, we'd start on the 5th fret of the low E string, and we'll do 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret on the E string, then A string, and then we'll do the 6th fret and 7th fret on the D string. It will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there we've got an A major scale. Now notice we've only played 7 different notes like piano. And then the last note, it repeats itself. Boom, major scale. I'm going to show you a scary image in 3, 2, 1, boo. Was that scary? Now what I want you to do is count how many notes are in this image. Starting now, go. If you're actually counting and what are you doing, there's only 7 notes in that image. Similar to piano, it's just 7 notes that repeat themselves across the whole of the, it's called a piano roll, but I don't even know. But earlier I was showing you it's just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, then it repeats. It's the same on guitar. Obviously guitar looks like a bit of a matrix, but it's the same 7 notes that repeat themselves across the whole fretboard, lower or higher, anywhere you want to go. Your job is just to learn how to navigate that and find those 7 notes. Remember, there's only 7. It's not like you have to learn 100 or something. It's just 7. Okay, I get it. The major scale can be put on the guitar and we can repeat it across the fretboard, just like a piano's notes repeat across the piano. But what do you mean that the major scale creates the pentatonic shapes? Isn't that a separate thing? Let me show you. If I play the major scale from the 5th fret of the low E string again, we've got this. However, if I move 2 numbers, I can create the pentatonic scale. If I move the numbers 4 and 7, we get A major pentatonic, and that looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Now, that image I showed you earlier, if I do the same thing and I remove the numbers 4 and 7 from each part of that image, we have this. And it's a bit easier to look at. But now, can you see the 5 pentatonic shapes? This will be shape 1, shape 2, shape 3, shape 4, shape 5. And then it repeats after that. So just by knowing how to see the major scale across the whole fretboard, you can get your 5 pentatonic shapes, and you can see that it comes from the major scale. So it's not a separate thing. The major scale gives birth to our 5 pentatonic shapes. I'm not going to retake that, man. Okay, I'm impressed. So I can see that learning the major scale across the whole fretboard makes me indirectly learn the major pentatonic shapes. That's really cool, but I've been struggling with modes for so long and it's just such a confusing topic for me. So how does the major scale simplify this? Theoretically, modes are taught as 7 scales that come from the major scale, and as a concept it's not that hard to grasp. The first mode starts on the first note of the major scale, the second mode starts on the second note of the major scale, the third mode starts on the third note of the major scale, and so on. Don't worry, I'll show you how this works in a second. But I think where guitarists go wrong is we overcomplicate visualizing it. We start learning all these different scale shapes, we memorize shapes, we don't actually understand them, and then we start learning all these systems and scale formulas, and all of this is useful in its own way, but it slows down the process of actually understanding how the modes actually work. So if I put on this image again of numbers 1 to 7 all over the fretboard, we've already done the first mode. We've already done the first mode technically with our major scale. It's just playing our root note, which was the 5th of the low E string, and then we play every note in between that until we reach the same note again, but at the higher octave. A higher octave just means the same note but higher up. So you can see it as 1 to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Yeah? This will be the first mode. The second mode, I said it started on the second note of the major scale. So you can see this as 2 to 2. The third mode you can see as 3 to 3. Fourth mode 4 to 4. Fifth mode 5 to 5. Sixth mode 6 to 6. Seventh mode 7 to 7. And eighth mode, no, there's no eighth mode. 8 is the same as 1, so then we just go back to the first mode. But you get the picture. It doesn't have to be this complicated thing where you're learning all these scale shapes. If you know it all comes from the major scale, why not just get good at navigating the major scale? So in a way, you're indirectly learning the modes. That makes much more sense. So I can see that by mastering the major scale, I'm indirectly getting better at modes. But I spent so much time memorizing these 3 note per string shapes. So what should I do with this memorization? How can I create my own with this major scale knowledge? That's a good question. So earlier today we did the A major scale. That's also known as mode 1, and it sounded like this. We did 3 notes on each string except the last string obviously, but we did 3 notes per string. So it's going to be the same thing with the second mode. If I put the diagram here, we'll just start from 2, and every time we hit that third note on one of the strings, we'll just go to the next string. So for the second mode, it'll look like this. I hit the third note, so I go to the next string. I hit the third note, so I go to the next string. Right? You can do the same thing with the third mode. We start from the third note of the major scale, which is 3 on the 9th fret of the low E string. And then every time we hit the third note, go to the next string. Next string. Next string. There we go. Right? And then you can really have fun with it. You can do this for every mode, but you don't want to think in terms of shapes. You want to be shapeless with it. If I'm on 2, I want to be able to just do my little random stuff and land on 2 again. Something like that. Ba-da-da. But that's the fun you can have with it. Don't think in terms of shapes. Use shapes to help you if you need to visualize it in a specific way. But just be shapeless with it, right? Let your fingers fly and just flow with it. Okay, I get it. The major scale can make all of these other scales, but one thing I never understood was how people use it to build chords. Like, I've memorized a lot of chords, I've gone through the cage system, I've learned different voicings, extensions, and all this stuff, but I never understood how to build chords on my own. No one really taught me that. So, how do you do it? I won't bore you with too much theory because there's plenty of chords out there, probably tens of thousands, maybe an infinite amount. And it's actually past my bedtime, so I really want to sleep right now. But I'll show you 3 chords that you can build with the major scale. Before we start building these chords though, we just need to understand one term, and that term is harmonization. All harmonization means is stacking notes on top of each other. So if I'm on the 5th fret of the low E string, R1. If I play a 5, which is on the 7th fret of the A string, and we play 1 and 5 together, this will be called adding harmony because we're playing 2 notes at the same time by stacking them on top of each other. But if you play 2 notes on the same string, obviously it's not harmonization because you can't play 2 notes on the same string at the same time. It's impossible. Well, it's not because of overtones. Okay, never mind. Anyways, bruv, let's make our first chord. A chord is 3 or more notes stacked on top of each other. The first chord we're going to make is something called a triad, a major triad specifically. And the formula for a major triad is 1, 3, and 5. So if we put our pinky on the 5th fret of the low E string, I want you to use the diagram to stack 3 and 5 on top of our root note, which is 1, our pinky note. I'll count to 10 in my head, and yeah, I hope you got the answer. Okay, done. I didn't say how fast I was going to count. So we can put our 3rd finger on the 4th fret of the A string. That's our 3. And then our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret. Our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. And that's our 5. 1, 3, 5, major triad. Sounds happy. With the major triad, just think of a staircase. Cool, the next chord we're going to make is something called a power chord, and the formula for that is 1, 5, and octave. Some people will say it's just 1 and 5, but I'd say that's a dyad. To do a real power chord, do 1, 5, 8, or 1, 5, 1. 8 is the same as 1. So if we put our 1st finger on our 1, 5th fret of the low E string, 3rd finger is going to go on 5, which is the 7th fret of the A string, and then pinky on 1, which will be the 7th fret of the D string, and then we've got a power chord. Yeah, power chords sound powerful. Cool. So the last chord we're going to build is something called a major open triad, and the formula for this is just 1, 5, and we'll do 3 above the octave. I won't go into why it's called an open triad and so on. I just want you to remember the shapes I'm showing you. So our 1st finger will go on 1, which is the 5th fret of the low E string. Our 3rd finger will go on the 5, which is the 7th fret of the A string. And then we want to find our octave and then put our next note on top of the octave. So we said the next note was 3, so let's find our octave from our root note. It's on the 7th fret of the D string. So on top of that note, play 3, and that'll be the 6th fret of the G string. We have 1, 5, 3. Now to mute the strings you don't want, you can use the arch of your 1st finger and just gently lie it down on the strings. Don't bar it and press down, but just lie down on the strings you don't want to hear. So all the strings. But when you play it all together, you've got this sound. Yeah? So the first chord I tried, think of a staircase. The next chord, I don't know, think of something. I think of Minecraft, I don't know why. Then the major open triad, maybe think of a hat. Cool. So yeah, learning the major scale across the whole fretboard will teach you something called interval awareness. And when you're aware of where all your intervals are, you can build chords from scratch. You can build minor 7 chords, minor 9 chords, minor 7 flat 5 chords, major 7 chords, dominant 9 chords, dominant 7 chords, major 9 chords. You can do anything, bruv. Diminished chords. You know? Okay, so I can see how everything's part of the major scale, and it's not really separated from it because everything does come from the major scale. You just need to know how to utilize it to build your scales and chords. But I've got one question for you. Everyone seems to be teaching the cage system online, and it seems something that's really useful and hyped up about. What's your opinion on it? Because I've seen in the past that you seem to hate the cage system. Why is that? I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for what I'm about to say about the cage system. That's because online teachers, online gurus, online schools, they'll always teach the cage system as this thing that will unlock the fretboard, give you fretboard freedom. What's that guy? Remember this guy?
That's called freedom.
Freedom. And demystify the fretboard. They'll teach you as this thing that's like the holy grail of getting you from this point on the fretboard to this point. But as I've said before, with all of these things, when you teach them separate to the major scale, you won't understand how it all works together. You're just memorizing at that point. And when you're memorizing, you don't understand. And when you don't understand, you won't be able to use it to its fullest potential to actually make some music out of it, right? So, in this video so far, I've told you that the major scale is basically the pentatonics. It's the modes, it's the 3 notes per string scale, it's chord construction. Now I'm going to show you how the cage system is just the major scale, right? See the major scale as a master key that does everything for you that you need. So, if you don't know what the cage system is, just watch a quick YouTube video on it or Google it. But I'm assuming you all do, so let's just do the cage system quickly. Since we're in the key of A, we'll start with our A open chord. That's our first shape. Then the next shape is a G shape. Oh my gosh. I'm barring the 5th fret of the B and E string, so it's kind of hard with my pinky. The next shape is an E shape, right? But even now, bruv, notice how I'm saying G shape, E shape, D shape, and so on. You don't want to think shapes, you want to know how the chord is constructed. When I'm on a point, let's say 1, I'm thinking, okay, 1's here, 3's here, 5's here, this will give me my major chord. The moment you think in shapes, you're stuck. You're not going to understand it. You're thinking shapes. You're not actually thinking how the chord is built, right? And that's a fundamental thing that you need to know to construct chords from anywhere. So we've done our E shape. We can do a D shape here. And then lastly, our C shape. And then back to our A shape. Yeah? These are the 5 cage shapes. So the cage system is nice because it just shows you that you can play an open chord shape, in different places. But it also falls apart here. Bruv, it only works with major open chords. When was the last time you played a C minor open chord? When was the last time you played a G minor open chord? Right? What if I want to use cage to do some diminished shapes across the fretboard? When was the last time you've done that? It only works for major shapes, and this is why I say it's better to just learn how chords are constructed, because that's how people learn other instruments. If you learn on piano, they don't have these systems. They actually learn chord construction with intervals, and then you can do it anywhere on the piano. Same with the fretboard. Learn chord construction with the major scale. You can build chords from anywhere. And we did this in the last chapter. Should I say chapter? Last part of this video on purpose, so I can show you how it works within caged. So, my B5 caged is this. Even though I played all these shapes, look at the diagram. There's still some missing spaces here, 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 in a lot of places, bruv. And, I know there are notes there, but how am I meant to know that if I'm just learning shapes, right? I know this is an A shape, I know it's a G shape, E shape, D shape, C shape, but I won't know how it kind of works with anything else. So, let's see it within the major scale. If I put the major scale framework that we've been working with for the whole lesson, this is what cage looks like within it. Our A shape would look like this. Our G shape would look like this. Our E shape would look like this. Our D shape would look like this. And our C shape would look like this. And then back to A. Even though I'm doing caged, it still works with every note within the major scale, because you're only playing 1, 3, 5. Now earlier we learned a triad is 1, 3, 5, a power chord is 1, 5, 1, an open triad is 1, 5, 3. You can keep mixing up these numbers. You can do 3, 5, 1 and 5, 3, 1 and so on to give different types of sounds, but it's still the same thing. 1, 3, 5, 4, that major chord. So how does this work on our major scale? In our first A chord, we're playing 1-5-1, so we can see a power chord. On top of that, we've got 1-3-5, so we can see a triad, the stairs that I was talking about. And then when you put them together, you've got an open A chord. But if you know chord construction, you can see 2 chords right here. I could even say 3 chords, like we can do 5-1-3, just like this, right? Let's go into the G shape of the K system. Here, I can see a triad, 1-3-5. I can see an inversion. An inversion is just 1-3-5, but you can mix up the numbers 3-5-1, 5-3-1, whatever. So we can see 3-5-1. We can see 5-1-5. Am I right? No. Yeah, I am. So that's a power chord. And then we can see 1-5-1. Another power chord. Cool, let's move on to the E shape. At the bottom we can see 1-5-1. That's a power chord. Then we can see 5-1-3. That's an inversion. Oh, that's sounding nice. On top of that we can see a major triad, 1-3-5. And then on top of that we can see another inversion, 3-5-1. Right? That's just an E-shaped bar chord, but I'm not thinking in terms of shapes, I'm thinking in terms of intervals. So even though I'm playing this one chord, I still have more options within that chord because I can see all these tiny chords within it. Let's move on to the next shape, D shape. This chord, I can see 1-5-1, that's a power chord, and then I can see 5-1-3. On top of that, that's an inversion, but it's still a triad. Just by knowing your intervals, you're indirectly learning your triads as well, which is a good thing. Last one, C shape. On top of this, well, I can see 1-3-5 triad, and then I can see 3-5-1, a triad or inversion, and on top of that I can see 5-1-3, another triad inversion. So all these tiny chords within the cage. Oh, my phone's gonna die. And then I don't have all these missing gaps. So even though, you know, I'm playing the K system, I can see all these other notes I can play with, not just these shapes that I'm memorizing, but I'm actually understanding how it all works within that major scale. And when it comes to caged minor, you don't even have to think cage system anymore. All you have to think is, if you want to do a minor chord, just know the chord formula and build it from there. If you made it this far in the video, then you're definitely serious about guitar, and I've got a reward for you. So I've written 3 ebooks. One's called Harmony Haven. It's 162 pages long, detailing everything I've said in this video and much, much more. Yeah, with videos, tabs, diagrams on how harmony actually works on guitar. I've also got another one called the Hendrix Method, Enhancing Rhythm Guitar. It will teach you how to play rhythm guitar like Hendrix. That's 100 pages, again with tabs, diagrams and videos. And I've got Fretboard Freedom. That's like 72 pages, and that teaches how I navigate the fretboard and do the stuff that I can do. I've got a discount code that's on, and the code is major scale. Why not? So you can use that at checkout if you want to get something that you can study at your own pace and learn, you know, everything I've shown you in this video in much more detail. I also do lessons for like 2 coffees a month called Guitar Alchemy, and we've got a Discord that you can join. If you join Guitar Alchemy, then I'll give you one of my ebooks for free of your choice, and yeah, as a little gift for making it this far in the video. Other than that, if you don't want my ebooks or you don't want to join Guitar Alchemy, bro, at least leave a comment or subscribe. You know, just leave a comment so YouTube can see that, you know, there's some good videos out there that need to be pushed. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. How do you say bye? Well, it's in Mandarin, Saijian. I shouldn't even be saying like Mandarin, bro. I'm Japanese now. But I watch anime. I don't even know how to say bye in Japanese, man. What the hell? Anyways, konnichiwa.